Welcome to the Eric Brady podcast, Series 1, Adolf Hitler, His Bombers and Me. Episode 20, The Funeral. Eric, the newspaper headline from the time said 7,000 people attended the funeral. What do you know about it?
There had been a meeting of all the parents of the children killed and the teachers killed as well. And the proposal was put that the children who had been killed in the school or died of their injuries in hospital could be buried together and a memorial be erected on the communal grave, as it were. And the same option was given to the 6 teachers who had been killed as well. And it had been decided that this would be the parents' choice or the family's choice. And out of the 38 children killed, parents decided, 32, that they would like them to be buried together. And 1 out of the 6 teachers' families decided that she should be buried with them. And the initial service was held at St Andrew's Church, where their big church hall had been used as a major first aid post where children were taken to immediately they were dug out of the wreckage of the school. The church was only a few yards away, really. The funeral service was held in St Andrew's Church, and then the children were going to be taken to Hither Green Cemetery to be buried together. A long procession formed, headed by military, Air Force detachments and Navy. Various organisations, the Boy Scouts and Girl Guides and Home Guard, also formed Guard of Honour, as it were. And then came the parents. With the photograph that was published in a newspaper, it looks as though my parents are heading the procession. In fact, they were the first of the parents' contingent. My mother was supported on one side by my father, on her other side by a clergyman. And then they walked down the road for a distance. And then, because Hither Green Cemetery was rather distant, I presume they were taken by cars and buses and reformed going into the cemetery where the communal grave had already been dug. And there the children were buried, 32 of the 38 killed, and 1 teacher out of the 6. Her coffin was placed in the middle of the children, and families came and put flowers so that all the coffins were covered by flowers. People had come from as far away as Wales who had been foster parents of the children. But I don't know if Kitty's foster parents came, or indeed mine for that matter. The parents then quietly looked at the place, thought, and then went home. It was much later, in fact, that Kitty's foster parents did come to lay a wreath on her grave. And unfortunately, they met my mother.
Do you know what happened?
My mother had gone to Kitty's grave, as she did quite frequently. And while she was there, 2 people came, Kitty's foster mother and father. They had had no intention of meeting my mother at all, but they had simply come to visit Kitty's grave because they had loved her so much. And they and my mother met at Kitty's grave, and 15 minutes either way they wouldn't have met. But my mother was obviously very depressed at that time, And Kitty's foster mother, as soon as she saw my mother, screamed out at her, "You're to blame for my lovely Kitty's death." And she kept on like that until her husband managed to drag her away. Her mother didn't tell me this in so many words, but from various comments that were made at different times, I've pieced that together. When my father got home that night from work, fortunately he was not away that night, he found my mother was suicidal. And he phoned our GP, a Dr. Armitage, I remember, and he was very good. Because my father reported that my mother was suicidal, he got her into a psychiatric hospital that night. Eddie had to go into care. The reason for that was, of course, my father had to keep on working. In those days, it was not easy for a man to suddenly give up his job for maybe weeks on end and still have the job waiting for him when he was able to go back to work. The other thing was, what would he do for money? So he couldn't stay at home to look after Eddie, so he had to go into care. His other fear would have been that his job with NAFI was protected. It was regarded as an essential home job. If he lost that job, then the same criteria would not apply. So he could have been conscripted and sent abroad, and the family situation would have been even worse. The authorities at that time didn't always have the consideration, shall we say, that really they should have done in family circumstances like that.
The plaque at the communal grave in the Green Cemetery reads, "Sacred to the memory of 38 children and 6 teachers who were killed when Sandhurst Road School was bombed by a lone German aeroplane on Wednesday, 20th of January, 1943. To buy your copy of Adolf Hitler, His Bombers and Me to read alongside the series, go to ericbradybooks.co.uk. The Eric Brady podcast can be found on YouTube, podcast services, and at ericbrady.blogspot.com.